game plan for progressing past 35 and getting into that 45-minute territory, I think LFY is fine.
Yeah. And you saw there, the Midas did just finish off for the Slardar as well. Ember Spirit's got into his Blade Mail on top of the Veil, and with the bots next, I believe, is what he's going to be going for. You have a nice situation here where he can keep the lanes pressured out and then go as 4 with the rest of them and have the ability to jump into the fight at a moment's notice.
Yeah, remember I kept referring to like a crime of opportunity or something like that. It's based around opportunities. That's what LFY are sitting at a point, right? They would love to be able to take these outer towers. They would love to be able to take Tier 1 on both sides of mid and the off lane tower and kind of open up the jungle areas a little bit more and limit the area that OG can farm a bit. But it's only going to be found through the right kind of smoke rotation, the right pick-off or team fight initiation.
So still the Alchemist farms. He's flirting with around that 4K net worth lead above the Shadow Fiend right now. Ana building back towards the Manta style after finishing the Yasha. But I certainly feel like with this BKB, now might be that good timing for LFY to look for a group up, look for some type of pressure on the map, and it does look like that's going to be the smoking going.
Yeah, you don't commit to this somewhat earlier BKB on an SF without having a clear game plan in mind. So Roshan, Tier 1s, Tier 2s.
Yep. Presence of the Dark Lord is maxed out. You've got yourself to amplify damage. Vengeful Spirit in the area. OG realizing that this is happening just a couple seconds too late and does not look like they're going to be able to contest. So a free Roshan, and LFY, they just keep on assembling these chess pieces together, all the little advantages they're building up, and now it does feel like it's going to be the time for them to take advantage of it and try and take a fight.
Yeah, look at the farm difference right now between our Slardar and our Centaur. You can't point to the hand of Midas being the difference maker there, right? He just picked it up. It's the fact that Alchemist and Terrorblade are taking so much of the farm that it's hurting their 3 position. And normally that's okay, but LFY are playing it pretty smart, pretty farm efficient. They do know their Alchemist game. It's been run a lot in the Chinese meta leading into this tournament.
Monet ready to get very aggressive here. They're going to jump forward, hoof stomp onto both of the cores. They do still have the Winter's Curse if they want to use it. Monet in some trouble. They turn it now onto the Shadow Fiend, but he gets swapped out. Great play there by the Vengeful Spirit. Monet's still going to be controlled and brought down. That's only the Aegis for now, though. Looks like OG need to be at least a little bit careful. There's Corrosive Haze on a lot of these heroes. They get a crush onto 2. S4, he's going to end up not going down. Actually, they do find that kill with the Raze. BKB pop from Super. So now OG need to be a little bit more trepidatious about going in.
It is still not enough for them to really break OG and take that Tier 1 tower. So I would say that's an OG win. They fought into an Aegis. They also used another BKB charge on SF, and they still held. This is a combination of they have this Winter Wyvern who's really tough to push into because the Splinter Blast. They also have the Acid Cloud that's out, and it's also another thing is just the positioning of OG. They always are reading where LFY is going for a push like this, and they set up preemptively, making it a lot more difficult.
Well, a very good hold. LFY would love to be able to start breaking down these objectives, but with only one Tier 1 taken in that top lane, it feels like it has to be off the back of Super catching somebody out with a nice Requiem of Souls, or possibly just a Slardar Crush followed up by Ember Spirit and then finding the pickoffs. OG is not giving them those opportunities.
No, they really aren't. OG, it's kind of cool, right? They use this Terrorblade to bully down the enemy's Tier 1 towers before you truly have stopping power for him. Like, the Metamorphosis is just overwhelmingly strong that he takes the offlane tower because there's nothing you can do about that. And then he just rapidly rotates into these other lanes and takes them so quickly. And then they're actually defending the important towers of their own. They keep that mid-tier 1 tower up for so long and keep that offlane tower up because they know LFY could just play an efficiency game if they hold more map control than OG. So they want to keep this map control intact as long as possible.
Well, taking down Fly right here and then following it up with soon to be a Tier 1 tower is certainly what they need to do. The Force Staff, or rather Hurricane Pike from Terrorblade, not able to save Lina there. And No Tail does have a DD rune, but the Crush, this is a good one if they can take it. Fly still there. He's back in an instant because of that minus respawn. Sunder comes off, which is going to control up Super for a moment, but Pump fakes the Requiem of Souls, hasn't used it as of yet. They still do have swap from LPC, but don't really want to swap in one of your teammates to die to their...
I thought he was going to swap. I was like, just do it, dude. Save your own life. Well, he gives up his life to make sure that all of his allies are able to run away. That Tier 1 is still up. though, because of the fact that OG kind of baited out a team fight farther to the right. LFY took the bait, they chased it down, and did not focus on taking that tier 1. I think they really should have just been happy with the kill they got on the Lina, quickly taken that tier 1 tower, and then kind of gone from there. If there were more opportunities to fight after that, sure, go for it. But
I mean, now we're looking at 18,000, almost 19,000 net worth on the Alchemist, 6,000 gold ahead of where this SF is. And SF has a lot of items that allow him to fight right now. You've got that Shadow Blade, Yasha for movement speed, but it definitely is feeling like their window is rapidly closing to actually kill this Alk.
yeah, with their item choices, but between the earlier BKB and now going for an SNY and the SF, it's like at first they were saying, no, we're okay being able to like just kind of farm for right now. We're going to hit our timing at 25, 30 minutes. It'll be okay. And then all of a sudden now they're just going all in at that 25, 30. They're not trying to give SF items that allow him to progress, 35, 40 minutes like we were talking about earlier. They're just like saying, we have to win this now. Yeah. And I'm not sure if that's crumbling under pressure. I'm not sure if that's like the right idea for this matchup, but I can kind of see where they're coming from. They're feeling like, man, we just really haven't been able to crack OG yet, and they do have 50% of the map with an Alchemist. They have a Terrorblade as well. We also have some really good Ags to pass around.
Yeah. I think the other thing to mention is that if they do manage to kill off that Alchemist right now, it's a lot of items that allow that to happen. That's a huge swing over because you do still have this Slardar that's actually almost ahead of the Terrorblade in terms of farm. So the rest of the heroes from LFY are there. It's going to need to be a group effort put together to bring down the raid boss in that Alchemist.
Let's see, how is our Slardar doing? He picked up a Force Staff, and he's now going a Shadow Blade next instead of maybe more of a team fighting item in like BKB. But he is doing a remarkable job keeping up in farm. I think that G-Sing is pretty good in that from an offlane position, is keeping up his farm rate. That's why he's, I think, really good on Legion Commander in particular.
Yeah. Well, No Tail shows up, and that dissuades LFY from going any further towards the Tier 1 tower. The unbreakable Tier 1s, you could say. Oh, Ana now getting the stun ready, but the Shadow Blade, he's going to stun himself. It's a scary time, but the Force Staff going to keep him from getting gone on. Good decision from LFY there not to overcommit or anything. And the Stampede, they're looking, they're trying to find it. LPC, he is going to get caught, but it is only a Vengeful Spirit.
I guess it's very rarely, most of the time it's like you criticize the team for being too aggressive, and so being passive and controlled is oftentimes a sign of a very good team. And it's very rarely a detriment. But I do feel like LFY are almost being too passive in this regard, especially given their item choices on the SF as well.
This is their time, though. If they could bring down the Alk off of this, it would be huge. And that's going to be a lot of damage there. Force Staff away, keeping Monkey King alive. Still, there's not enough of the rest of the heroes here to make this work. Shadow Fiend shows up, pops his BKB, turns to maybe try and fight. Monet's going to keep a couple cold by the chains. Requiem of Souls come out, but it's just no damage. They're not on any of the heroes of OG. They're going to get this Tier 2 tower.
OG, I think they now have this game. It's just like they're getting so big. There was already, I think, a drafting advantage for OG having this last pick, Alchemist. It was a great Alchemist game. There's only so much LFY could do to pivot their roster into something better. The SF was probably one of the best heroes out there. They would have had to, like, maybe the only way they could have gone later is if they put mid-Ember against an Alk and then gone like a Morphling safe lane or something like that. I think SF was the right hero, and they had some of the right ideas. They didn't to get too over anxious, but at a certain point they missed their timing. They let Alchemist get up to this point where he now has an Assault Cuirass and you just don't have the damage to deal with him. They needed to be able to utilize heroes like this Ember Spirit when your magic damage was at its finest, right? Where you're able to have the potential to just blow up a core because you triple remnant him with Veil of Discord. That was your timing to be able to just go in and like take those towers. And OG did provide a stellar defense at all regards, but you still at some point in time had to say, it's time to man up.
Yeah.
It's time to force this. Damn it, we can't be afraid of the consequences of what happens if we lose this fight, because if you just for lack of a better phrase here, if you just like wussy out, there it is.
Yeah.
If you just wussy out, then you're just going to let an alchemist run over you 10 minutes later.
Yeah, we'll see how, definitely. And, you know, the other thing there to keep in mind, as we do get this Winter's Curse off, thinking about going for more, there's the swap away. LPC, again, going to give his life for the cause. But it's sort of too much of a good thing, you know? You talk, again, about not needing to commit stuff, and that was what we were talking about throughout the whole early stage. You don't need to force it. Don't need to force it. Eventually you need to force it.
Yeah,
so it's got to happen.
I kind of regret saying that to LFY because, Jesus, it was like, they're like, oh, okay, no, we don't need to force. Well, at some point, you know,
yeah,
there's only so much give. So now it's going to be an Aegis for OG. They're going to take these tier 2s. They have really good high ground taking potential when the Alchemist reaches this kind of point. He's just so overwhelmingly strong that no one can really deal with him, so he's going to probably chip down a tier 3 pretty quickly.
All right, Super, do it one time. Requiem of Souls, we're waiting. He decides to
one
go
time
for
the
it.
homies.
There's a BKB popped. It's not really a ton of damage. Sunder as well to turn it. Oh, that's a pretty good combo. No-Tail is not going to fall, though. A magic missile onto the Alk, only to hold back the tide of what could be a GG push. This is looking still terrifying for OG.
Yeah, I mean,
or rather for
it was still an Aegis on the Terrorblade, right? So even if they did manage to get that kill, it was just OG would have just shrugged it off and kept going. So yeah, I don't know, Gabe.
I mistakenly said there that it was looking scary for OG. I definitely meant LFY.
Oh,
they
yeah.
are.
I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant. I knew we were on the same page. It's not good for LFY.
It feels to me as if, again, they're also not going to afford them the opportunity to get back into this game. Is there an item, like with this BKB, does that change things at all for the Slardar and the way they take the fights?
Not really, no. The Butterfly would not really change things, but it would help a little bit for the SF and just getting more raw right-click damage. The big problem is, like, our Ember Spirit is not... Ember Spirit now has... It used to be this gradual build-up. On the old Ember Spirit, we're using the Sleight of Fist as your primary damage. But with this magic damage Ember Spirit, you have some very distinct peaks and valleys where you have a huge peak at 15 or 25, and you do drop off afterwards. You reach a serious valley where physical damage starts becoming more prevalent, but you've committed to this magic damage, and it's not as important anymore. So you reach this valley. It's the problem is that they didn't utilize the Ember Spirit well enough in the time that he was strongest, and now he's going to look super weak as he starts transitioning outside of that. If we eventually get to late game, the Ember Spirit does become relevant again, but right now, his damage is going to look so pitiful against the OG members who now have the innate stats to tank through the initial burst.
This has got to be one of the most fun games that Ana's played in this tournament, honestly. He's just been able to farm for the past, like, 20 minutes, basically. He got killed a couple times in lane early on from rotations, and then since then, he's been free to do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, he's just been hearing the sound of gold raining down constantly. Aggressive push out, see if they can catch somebody. If they do, then boom, it turns into a high ground push. Failing that, though, failing at a pick-off like that, just control. Control. All that LFY can really do is aggressively push out with Monet and split push with him, but that's pretty much it.
Well, here it comes. Metamorphosis pop. You've still got the Alk on the low ground. Going to throw out one of these stuns. Hit still onto the Shadow Fiend. Shrine has already been popped now, and they do also use the Glyph. So Ana stepping forward. They just don't feel like they can do anything to him. It is too hard to stop this pressure coming in from the damage dealer and the hero that's never going to die in Ana. So Monet taking a couple hits. This is going to be a barracks down, and I don't see what the answer is in the least bit.
Yeah, they try and get some damage on No-Tail. Like, they need to jump No-Tail, but at the same time, he's the one with the Aegis. They just can't target Ana at all because he's so big now.
Yeah, turns back around again for the stun, throws it out onto the Slardar. No respect at all for any type of high ground defense because it's not there for LFY. They don't have any way to deal with it. Range barracks is going to drop as well. They are going to go for a little bit of a swappage type of play, but Ana, well, he's going to be back and perfectly fine.
Sunder wasted by No-Tail on the Lincolns, but there it is. Kind of the zoning Winter's Curse to allow OG to extract themselves from that situation. Now they can take shrines. I think LFY, the only way that they could have taken that fight is if they did a smoke wraparound play. They needed to get to the back line first, try and blow up the Wyvern and Lina, give themselves a numbers advantage, because clearly this Terrorblade and Alchemist are not the heroes you're going to be able to burst down. You can't focus them. So you needed to be able to take out the other heroes and then slowly work on the other two as 5.
You know, I watch a lot of the Chinese DPL, cast a good amount of it as well, and this is pretty typical of some of the types of games that they have there, where you have one team that has built up a nice timing, but then they don't always take full advantage of it, and then they kind of are left in this awkward spot where they just keep on trying to build up that advantage again, and then go for another strong timing. And you do have the butterfly that's done now for the Shadow Fiend, which could be one of those other timings, but it feels as if OG is almost on to the next one. You've got those Aghanim Scepter, which I think ended up getting passed out. I'm not sure if it did or not, but regardless, he's going to be able to have it soon. Yeah, Lina does have that Aghanim Scepter given over to her by the Alk now.
All right, here's the play, Lyrical. You've got the Basher now on Monkey King, so just get super lucky with your Wukong's command. Get like batches on all 5 heroes over and over again.
Hit the lucky button, guys. Yeah. That's the play. But
believe in yourself. That's what he needs, Gabe. Just have faith.
Yeah, I think you got to have faith. Got to have faith. As OG going to hit it down. Monet taking a lot of damage. Cap, it is looking grim and a half.
Take a fight. Come on, LFY. You can't just go down like this. You can't just be slowly attrition to death the whole entire game.
Oh, there it is. Alchemist stunned himself. This is what they've been waiting for. Your time is now. Go after him. Alchemist is going to be healed back up. They can't break through it in the least bit. It's still going to be stunned. He's getting bashed by Monkey King, but it's not nearly enough. And now you're not going to have ultis for the second round. Ana getting a little bit big there in the back lines. They've got Slardar caught out. He does manage to get the blink away. But, yeah, this is grim, to say the very least.
Lure them away, Fishy. Lure them away until we have our ults again. They've got Requiem, 70 seconds. I mean, I think OG just... They're going to play it super safe, and they're going to chill out. Maybe they wait for the next Roshan or something like that, but they've got a 20,000 gold lead.
Yeah.
Experience is even, though.
There you go.
Yeah.
The silver lining around this cloud that's sort of been this game for LFY. You do also have S4, who's finished off his Aghanim Scepter, so even if they did manage to start to bring that Alchemist low, you've got that countermeasure coming out from S4.
Yeah, I don't know how you actually deal with the innate regen of the Alchemist combined with the percentage-based regen of Cold Embrace, and then add on top of that if you throw magic damage at them, they can just pop the Centaur ultimate and mitigate most of that. It pretty much guarantees that under Gold Embrace and potentially using that ultimate, that Ana will just full heal. You know, you'll just full heal up in 4 seconds, he'll be good to go again.
It is quite difficult to deal with, and it's not just the Alchemist draft too, though. It's been the way that they've played around the nice timings from Shadow Fiend and the Ember Sphere. Like, that could have been an August Iron. It'd be pretty much the same story, I feel like. So, OG getting ready to move in yet again. The Tier 3 tower already down, looking to try and secure their second lane of barracks if they want, or possibly just take down some wards and put the fear of God in LFY.
Metamorphosis back up. Time to go.
Monet taking the damage, pops the Blade Mill again. You can't Blade Mill the buildings, unfortunately, and that's going to be a melee barracks down. Super jumps forward. It was another stun that went down onto Ana, and now they're starting to bring down that Ember Spirit. Another stun throws out onto him. Requiem of Souls doing absolutely nothing. The MK ulti is not really able to disrupt this team fight all that much. White is going to drop. They lose 2, and they lose the game.
Did you see White? He was in he was next to that one little tree, and he threw down the Wukong's command and then turned himself into a tree to stand next to it. He was like, maybe I could just sit here with the Wukong's command and they won't notice me. But hey, LFY, you tried. I don't know. I guess it's such a weird place because I've never looked at a team and been like, oh, they were too trepidatious.
Yeah.
You know, they were actually just they just let OG win the game by not taking an action. When normally it's the teams take the wrong action. You know, they get too aggressive or something. So I was just like, I respect this. I respect it. And then
And then
it
you
just got a little bit too much. So
I think that it's something that does happen with a couple of Chinese teams. I think LFY, remembering a couple games that I watched from Duaobao, those guys, it's been sort of similar, but it hasn't happened on the main stages all that often, which is the other interesting thing about it. And OG certainly knew how to punish it. In terms of your thoughts for game number 2, is there any drafting change that they can make outside of just ban Alchemist?
Well, don't let yourself get last pick Alchemist when Alchemist was a strong pickup there. Other than that, I think their lineup was kind of weird. I'm not sure about Ember Spirit right now. I don't put a whole lot of value in him.
Rough stuff. Yeah, I'm kind of with you there as well, and particularly not the safe lane. But we'll have to find out what our panel thinks. Send it back over to Paul and them.
Yes, thank you very much. We are back at the panel, and we will break down another victory for OG. We'll start with Purge. We've also got PPD. Welcome back. Purge, what did you make of that?
There wasn't a whole lot that happened sometimes. It was a lot of farming. I felt like OG was moving around the map, getting stuff done. They had kind of a poor laning stage, but Alchemist hit creeps and got a lot of items, and we didn't even get into the ag section of the game.
Yeah, so fairly standard kind of game this time around. Peter?
Yeah.
OG looks really comfortable.
They do, don't they?
Every opponent they're playing, it's just kind of, there's even when they're mixing up their heroes, they're doing weird things like Arc Warden. It's still like, the games all look very similar. They're just kind of, doing their thing for 20 minutes, farming, and then all of a sudden 30, 40 minutes comes around, and they just kind of walk into their opponent's base and win the game.
Yeah,
so.
I think that's the perfect explanation of the game. We'll see some of the highlights in a moment. What's it like playing? Because you've had these moments, right, where you play in a team, just everything just works no matter what you try. You almost become a bit more, you're like, well, I wonder if this works then, and you try it and it works. What is it when that happens? What happens? It's some sort of mystical thing that's been going on.
I don't know if I've ever really felt that way, and maybe OG feels that way too. I always feel a little uncomfortable, or like you're always trying to be the best, but you're not quite the best. But OG's been such like. The thing is, they're not winning everything, right?
No. But when they're playing like this,
they are Group A right now. But
but when they're playing like this, it does. There's an element to us, at least, watching from the outside, that feels like it doesn't really matter what they do. They're going to win, and they're going to continue. It, almost like they seem unbeaten. Newbie had a period last year, I think, around Epicenter, where they just seemed unbeatable. I mean, eventually they lost, obviously, to OG and Liquid, but it seemed for a while like they could just do no wrong in game.
Yeah, I mean, they're a team that expects to win this entire tournament, so I think that their first big challenge will be on the first day of the main stage when they have to battle up against Group B.
Yep.
So, they just need to continue learning the patch and hopefully not reveal too much because teams will definitely be studying them in between on the break days.
Yeah. We'll take a look at the scoreboard right now and show you the. It doesn't really tell a story, Kevin, does it?
I mean, not so much, other than the fact that Ana hit a lot of creeps, I guess. The other important thing that they did as well is they just counter pushed a lot of lanes. They didn't give LGD Forever Young a lot of opportunities to get kills. Like Fly was mid lane most of the early game, just dragon slaving out creep waves. Jarek's kind of popped out of nowhere. He was like level 1 at 4 minutes, and all of a sudden he got like a decent level 6. And he picked up items as well. Like they all kind of did what they needed to do. They didn't get caught. They didn't give LGD a chance to take a good fight, and it just delayed and delayed and delayed.
I think Slardar is looking really underwhelming in this tournament.
Right.
He's been working a little bit with like Nake's combos in a couple of games, but other than that, like he seems to kind of be this like very weak initiator who is battling up against these like team fight lineups, and as soon as he kind of goes in, either his stun doesn't have that much impact or he just kind of dies. And that hero also struggles against Alchemist and like any illusion-based hero like Terrorblade as well.
So it's like if you don't allow him to make your right click physical carry better, then he's just crap. You're better off picking somebody else.
That's interesting. MVP wise, did anyone stand out for you?
I
mean, Ana had a poor game. Only 984 GPM in this game. It was 1100 yesterday on the same hero. It's terrible.
Yeah,
could have been better.
Don't give it to him.
I guess we give it to him.
Sure. Yeah,
was there even a fight?
Yeah, well, not really. It's hard to pick one out when there's so little action.
4 kills is the scoreboard leader. Ooh, we should give it to Super. He's got 5 at least.
Ana. We're picking up the MVP. A very difficult MVP to choose for all the wrong reasons, of course, in that game. What do you want to see game 2? Peter? More action, obviously, from the neutrals' point of view.
I think they should have a better plan for initiating fights. I think OG oftentimes does play. They play a lot of Alchemist. They play a lot of Terrorblade. They'll even play Naga Siren, kind of a thing. So just to have a better way to initiate fights, because we saw in that game they just had no way to even start. Like, sure, they had some farm and they had some levels on their heroes, but if you can't actually get past the wall of illusions, There's no fight to be had.
Yeah. LFY, from their point of view, very disappointing, I would have thought. But
Yeah, a little.
at the same time, they weren't that far away.
Yeah, they were doing relatively okay. They made some good moves. The aggressive Alchemist kill that they had early looked super good, but then, 2 support TPs punished on the back line as well. So they did some good stuff. It's just they had trouble making really good plays.
Whatever they did this game, they probably thought, this is our best opportunity to beat OG. They were really wrong, right? But they probably learned so much from this defeat, because whatever they thought they were trying to win the game with for game 1, they realized, they were really far off. And now they're going to be, if they look at game 1, they look, why did we lose? It's because we didn't have enough initiation, or Slardar's not that great into these teamfight illusion heroes. That knowledge is going to help them so much more throughout the rest of this tournament, and we'll probably see something a little bit different from game 2. I'm not saying game 2 is going to go better for them, but they probably learned a lot from playing against OG, who's arguably the best team in their group.
Yeah. We should also point out that with 10 points guaranteed, OG are now guaranteed a top 2 spot in that group. So we'll be seeing them in the upper bracket semi-final. Also guarantees them a top 6 finish of the 12 teams, which is pretty cool considering it's day 2 of groups.
And maybe a really weird pick for game 2. You never know.
You think it might do something a bit different?
I think if they win this game, though, they're guaranteed 1 seed. I don't think that's
still
locked in.
try hard,
Yeah,
still. Mostly hard.
I mean, they could still technically be caught, but I think if they win this, you're right. They get the extra 3 points and they go to 12 points. There's no way they're being overhauled.
So there's still a little incentive for them to take it a little extra seriously.
Like 20% serious.
Maybe tomorrow we'll get some really clowny OG.
That'd be fun, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be fun, but it'd also be strange for whoever they play. Because also you're playing against
That's
OG.
always the difficulty with this system, isn't
It's
it?
tough.
When
It's
you
tough.
go through and then you end up playing a team, because it also affects the other teams around them.
Ideally,
as well,
the groups are like a little more balanced, so that OG doesn't feel like they can just throw games away.
Yeah.
Well, didn't we feel like they were balanced? Day 1, we're like, yeah, Group B, so good. Is that what the issue is? All the good teams are in B, and therefore they're by themselves?
I mean, we can have the argument of would you
okay.
have swapped one team out and put them in the other group and moved one team around, but they were fairly good. It's just that B was the better group, wasn't it?
I mean, let's just do an experiment. Who's the second best group or second best team in Group A?
I don't know who's
You
in.
have no idea.
I couldn't tell you. If you gave me 12 teams, I would probably be 50% wrong sorting them in groups. I can't answer that question.
I don't know.
PPD's next job is sorting out.
Nah, I'm sure it wasn't done on purpose. It's just it's just the way it works out.
Yeah.
Or the way it happened.
Yeah.
So don't know. Fight for position 2 is what Group A is, I think, from now on.
I guess so.
No, it absolutely is what's going on from now on. In terms of looking forward to the next game, then, from an LFY point of view, what do they do?
I was thinking about it a bit ago. I feel like another thing they really needed was lane push. They didn't have very much. Slardar's not very good at pushing lanes. Vengeful Spirit's really slow pushing lanes. You like Wave of Terror and wait for your creeps to do the work. They didn't have very good lane push. With that, they also then can't gank because then
They had Venge that
OG
game
always
too,
knows.
right?
Huh?
They had Venge that game?
Yeah,
Support?
it was Venge support, Slardar off lane. I can't remember who their carry was.
Monkey King support.
Yeah, Monkey King
Ember.
support. I mean, he did max his jump second, but he was mostly scouting. And then Ember, who's like pretty much
it's like
remnant. So
another kind of like Venge plus Slardar plus Monkey King. Like 3 heroes with like not a lot. I mean, Monkey King has some team fight, but not a lot.
So like if the fight starts, it would have been good. But they never got to push lanes to get to a point where they could actually initiate ganks. So
I'd like to see
stuff like
a
that.
Warlock or an Earth Spirit or
Yeah, that'd be good.
some sort of team fight support.
Okay.
Disruptor.
All right, we're going to get more from you in just a moment, but we are headed to a quick break. And, of course, we have got our second game to come as well between OG and LFY. Don't go too far away. And welcome back to the Dota 2 Asia Championships 2017. We are ready for our second draft, so we're going to get you in there very quickly indeed for our second and final game of our 5th series of the day. OG going for the perfect clean sweep again for the second day in a row against LFY. Let's see whether they can come up with something a little bit different in the draft. We've also got PPD and Purge back here on the couch as well. We are expecting something a little bit more different.
Yeah,
but what are we going to expect?
I feel like OG's just going to go with the flow of that game. They reacted as needed. There was a bunch of really weird bans. It was like all supports, so they had to pick some weird heroes, but I think they adjusted.
First four support.
I believe
bans
so.
were all supports, weren't they?
At least like 2 to 4 were
definitely
all supports, all fly heroes. So, but he did completely fine. Just played Lina. So
it was fine.
Yeah.
That was something we didn't talk about actually in that first game. We were kind of expecting Fly to play the Wyvern.
Slightly, yeah. But yeah, I guess I know Fly historically has played Lina as well. I remember a game when he was on